Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. Paul Carroll here, and we are a little bit later than usual. It is Tuesday evening at 8:10 as I'm recording, but we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be looking back, of course, on the Tipperary against Kilkenny game in the All Ireland Senior Hurling semi final. I'll be giving my thoughts on the game itself and looking ahead a bit to the All Ireland final as well. So if you're new around here, I work as a sports editor with Tip FM, commentate on the game. So I was commentating on the game in Croke Park on Sunday, and I have a podcast where I just look back on the game and give my thoughts. We do it throughout the season, and we're having a great year doing it this year because we're all the way into an All Ireland final. So if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. We're doing really well. We're up to 520 odd subscribers, which is good going, and views and that is doing really well. I think the last video got over 160 likes, which little old P. Carroll Sport YouTube channel, it's good going. So keep that up, everyone. If you're new around here, subscribe. It's all free, and I'll be spending the next 30, 45, 60 minutes, who knows, talking hurling and talking Tipperary predominantly, but loads to get through. I'm later than usual. Usually record these on a Sunday straight away after the match, after the Galway game. I recorded it straight away on the Saturday, but it has just been a hectic couple of days. So we'll talk down through all that, but just a friendly reminder, like the video, it gives us a real big help. 163 likes in the last video. That was about, I think 150 was our most before that. So we're into an All-Ireland final. Can we get 200 likes? Who knows? Anyway, but next hour or so we're going to be talking about the game. I'll be giving my thoughts, my perspective up in the Hogan, the press area and the Hogan stand, looking down on the game. But let me know what you think. Comments below. I always respond to as many, if not all of them, as I can. And what did you think of the game? There's so much to talk about. There's scoreboards. There's so many things. The red cards. Excuse me, I couldn't stop that. Sorry if you're listening on audio and didn't see that coming, but I hadn't sneezed all day. The minute I press record on the podcast, there you go. But anyway, loads to talk about, so get your comments in, and we'll switch up the screens here. And God, that sneeze really came at the worst possible time, but it might wake me up because I'm actually wrecked after the last few days. So 420 to 30 points is the official full-time score in this game. All Ireland semi-final in front of 60,738. Initial reaction before we get down, again, if you're new here, I'll go down through player by player, give my thoughts on their performances and things like that. So as you can see, I'm not at the home setup here today, but we'll make do with what we have. We have done a podcast here before, but it's just been a hectic day. So I'll give you a quick rundown on my day before we go down through the match. So Sunday, of course, was up early, drive up to the match, park up, get the commentary equipment set up for the Camogie game because that was on Tip FM as well. And then, that went to extra time. I'm preparing myself for the game. Game happens, absolutely drained after it because it was just full on. It was just such a full on game. And when you're commentating a game on radio, you can't stop talking. So you're really tired after. Straight down, interview with Liam Cahill after, and then back to the car. Stuck in traffic. It took an hour to get from Croke Park to the Red Cow roundabout, and then another kind of hour and 45 maybe home from there. So back home at 10 o'clock. Couldn't record the podcast then. I was just too tired. Monday I was up early to go into the Tip FM studio in Clonmel. Already we to start kind of preparing for how us as Tip FM and the radio station are going to broadcast over the next week, the day of the match, the build up, what we're doing, previews, things like that. So it was a busy day in work yesterday, and then I drove back up home, so from Clonmel back up to Burgess there just outside Nina for a very important Junior B match, started the championship, so I had to drive back to Port Road to see the second half of that. And then today we had, Tuesday is the press event for Tipperary was on, the pre-All-Ireland press event was on, so down to the horse and jockey, got some really great interviews. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, definitely do subscribe. I'll be putting them up in the next week or two. They'll be on Tip FM first, so follow all the Tip FM social medias to see the interviews. We spoke at length with Liam Cahill, with Declan Laffin, Ronan Maher, Jake Morris, Brian O'Mara, all good conversations with those out. So that's coming up in the next week or so. So there's going to be lots to look forward to on that front. But that was today, and now we're here. So this is the first time I had a chance to record the podcast, so apologies, because it usually is kind of out very quickly. But with all that being said, wow, Tipper into an All Ireland final. What a buzz! Do you know, as a Tipperary man, who would have thought we'd have been here? Do you know, the Clare game in the All Ireland or in the Munster Championship last year, Tipper already out heading into that game. You know, the Cork game in the Munster Championship last year, all those disappointments. I don't think the most optimistic of Tipperary supporters might have predicted this. So it's just been an incredible journey with this team, and yeah, it's we've loads to look forward to in terms of looking forward to the All Ireland. But you know, first time ever Tipperary versus Cork, like what an occasion that's going to be. From a personal point of view, you know, to have the privilege of going to be commentating on that game, 82,000 people. I haven't really had time myself to just sit back and think of that. That's going to be an incredibly exciting thing, but we're going to be so busy over the next week or so that I won't get too much time to think about it. But it's just brilliant, isn't it? Like, just the journey this team has been on, as I mentioned, the tough days last year. And, you know, it's only 6 years since we were in the All Ireland. So, you know, Liam Call has asked us to be patient. We didn't have to be that patient. You know, we had a couple of bad years and things like that. And, you know, we've nothing won yet. That's obvious. But to get back up on the road to Croke Park was just so nice last weekend, just driving up, cars passing you out and you look in and they're all wearing Tip jerseys and there's Tip flags hanging out of the back of boots, and just really missed that, forgot what that felt like, and waiting at the toll in Portlaoise and everyone around you is Tipperary jerseys, Tipperary flags. So it's just, it was incredible. It was really well missed, I suppose, from a Tipperary person's point of view, and we get to do it all again in a short period of time, Sunday week, back up the road again. So, look, it's hugely exciting. But as I said, let's talk down through the game. And yeah, don't have all I have in front of me. I'll switch camera here. All I have in front of me is the notes I had, or the team sheet I had for the game. So I'm just going to shoot from the hip as I do on this podcast. But again, another reminder to like and subscribe if you are new around here. And yeah, tip into an All Ireland final, 420 to 30 points. Where do we start? The scoreboard thing, I'll give you my perspective on that. So let's start with that because it's become one of the most talked about things on all the podcasts that I've been listening to since the full time whistle. So Oisin O'Donoghue gets the goal, 70th minute. Wow, like wow, Oisin O'Donoghue. You might have seen my commentary on the goal with Ken Hogan on Tip FM. We just kind of lost our head, which I thought was understandable because it was a goal that just you didn't see coming. In terms of, you know, sometimes like for John McGrath's goal, you could see the ball falling out to him and you're anticipating there's a shot on goal coming here. But for Oisin O'Donoghue's, he was so bottled up and he was quite far out, and you just didn't think he'd be able to get a strike away. And next thing you just see it fly into the top corner in a flash, and it's like just an eruption of emotion. And so when you're commentating on these games, I don't intend to, you know, go out and start shouting. I kind of, in a way, I'm like, oh, you know, you don't want to be that commentator who's just roaring and shouting all the time. You know, it's not great, like, but you know, it's okay every now and again, I think. And it was definitely a genuine reaction, because even looking back on that goal, I still don't really know how he did it. But so that goal goes in and Tip go to 420. Moments later, Noel McGrath has the shot that you've all seen. The reaction of the crowd are telling you it's going over. It looks like the umpire's motions are about to be that it's going over, and you're getting excited, and then it's waved wide. So you can listen back to our commentary. It is on the Tip FM SoundCloud and on YouTube on Tip FM, if you do want to listen back. But when we were commentating on the game, I had, you know, said that has gone wide. Okay, Tipper still up by 3 points, and fast forward maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and I glanced at the scoreboard. So I'm in the Hogan stand, the press box, and about a minute after that shot by Noel McGrath, I looked at the scoreboard and it said 421 to, what was it, 29 points or something at the time. And I was like, we're winning by 4. I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm commentating, I look over to my left at the scoreboard, that says there's 4 points in it. So I was like, okay. And then down in front of me in Croke Park, they give you a screen to look at while you're commentating as well. Looked at that, and that had the RTE feed on it, and that said 421, so a 4-point game. So in the heat of it, and there's everything going on and you're commentating live, subconsciously I just thought, okay, I'm wrong. There's 4 points in it. Let's just go from there. And we stayed commentating. The match concluded the way it did. Robert Doyle made the brilliant block off the line, and yeah, full time whistle went, jubilation, elation, and then it wasn't until I went down to the press box or the press conference area, right at the heart of Crow Park underneath the Hogan stand. It wasn't until I was down there that the other journalists were there and they were mentioning that, yeah, there's some issue with the scoreboard here. I think it was Michael Verney actually who first said it to me. He was waiting at the elevator to go down to the press conference area. So he was the first person who kind of brought it to my attention that, oh yeah, like, Joe, that was an issue there with that Noel McGrath score. So um, there's been a lot of talk about it. If you've listened to podcasts already, you're probably sick of talking about it. And I certainly was sick of hearing people talk about it, to be honest, because um, how do I put this? There was Kilkenny. I would be really upset if I was a Kilkenny man, and totally justifiable because they're going for goals where they could have gone for points. But then if you look at it from a Tipperary point of view, which of course I'm going to um, do Tip drop off completely on Owen Cody that time or TJ Reid, and kind of give him that space where he would be able to tap over a point? Do Tip do that if there's only 2 points in it rather than three? There's all that. It's all stuff that we'll never know. It's a tough one for both teams. James Owens seemed to be correct. He had the right score, I believe, in his notes, so he's not to blame there. It's just one of those things, a really unfortunate thing, a mistake by a scoreboard operator, compounded by the TV operator, which I'd imagine is linked up. Maybe the scoreboard on the TV is probably linked up to the one in the stadium. So just really unfortunate, and I don't want to be like, patronizing in that way, like, oh, that's so unfortunate. But what else can you say? It's just one of those things that's happened, and it's human error, and it's just unfortunate, really. But what people have been talking about, and was one of the first things I thought about, is what would have happened if Robert Doyle didn't make that stop on the line. John Donnelly's shot flies past Reece Shelley from close range, and Robert Doyle, just instinctual, in behind the goalkeeper, stops it off the line. Brian O'Mara is there to clear it away. But what if that went in? Because like, if that goes in, the puck out probably would have went long, and the game probably would have blown up at that. Probably, we're making assumptions here. Someone could have snapped the puck out and threw it over the bar at either side of the field. So nothing is concrete here. But let's say the ball went long, broke down the middle of the field. James Owens blows it up. Everyone in the crowd kind of goes, "Oh, it's a draw. It's going to extra time," and the players are probably thinking the same. And then you see James Owens and the officials walk down the tunnel and probably say that, say to a Kilkenny lad that, no, you've won, and there'll be bedlam. People in the stand wouldn't know what's happened because the scoreboard would say it's a draw, and then the PA would probably have to announce, oh, there's been a mistake with the scoreboard. Kilkenny have won the game by a point and are into an All-Ireland final. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's Tuesday evening now. I'd say if that did happen, all those Tip folk would probably be still up in Crow Park, lying on the field, saying, "No, we're not moving. This is this is bullshit." So, look, Robert Doyle, I think, what did they say on the Sunday game? He saved the GAA. But he definitely said, well, never mind saving the GAA. He definitely saved the GAA an awful lot of hassle. Excuse me. So it's just imagine if that happened. Like, it would have been chaotic. But thankfully, it didn't come to that. But as I said, it is an unfortunate ending in a way. But from a Tipperary point of view, you're kind of like, look, everyone has spent the news cycle moves fast. So the hurling match would have only been in the limelight, let's say, for a day or two, and now all the kind of national media will be turning their attention to the football this weekend, and so no one would have been talking about Tip at all, really. And not a bad place for Tip to be. Let them talk about the scoreboard and all that. And the Sunday game, I thought Brendan Cummins was quite good in how he described the whole umpire situation and the umpire trying to catch the ball. Yeah, because the Sunday game didn't. They barely talked about Oisin O'Donoghue's goal, and it was kind of like one of the best goals in recent memory in Crow Park, a 19-year-old to do it. And I think they replayed it once, and Joe Canning was talking about, oh, it could have been a free out to Mikey Gary, and it's kind of like, are we not going to talk about this unbelievable goal, or did I imagine that happened in my head? But we're not going to get upset about that. They're trying to cover as many topics as they can in a short period of time. But yeah, I thought it was good in a way, that from a Tipperary point of view, that maybe it wasn't as bigged up as it could have been, Tipperary's performance and things like that. But the performance itself from Tip was a bit patchy, it must be said. They started the game incredibly slow. Was it 8 points to a goal down at one stage? Maybe 1-2 to 10 points, I believe, at one stage as well. And then Tip roared back into it with all the goals in the first half. Started the second half, Tip were really slow. And then they just eked it out. Jason Ford was just so good. Um, and then that Oisin O'Donoghue goal came at the right time. So we're into an All Ireland final. It's unbelievable, Joe. It's so good. Absolute buzz. The buzz around the county is just class. Even driving in from the missus' house here in Kilkenny to Clonmel on Monday morning to work, I was driving through Kilkenny village or town or whatever you want to call it at 7:30 in the morning. Saw two people on the street. One was in a Finch's jersey, love to see it. That was a man walking out of the centre there in Kilkenny, and the other one was a woman further down the street in a tip top. And I was in a shop in Clonmel during the day, and they're talking about the match and trying to get tickets, and the buzz is just class. And this next week, 10 days are going to be special. So while it's going to be really busy for us in the local media side of things, you wouldn't want it any other way, and it's going to fly by. So yeah, it's going to be really, really busy, as I've said before. But let's go down through the game. So Tip started quite slow. The team sheet down in front of you that you can see on the screen there if you're watching on YouTube. Peter McGarry obviously didn't start the game. Connor Stakelum came in for him. So Tip started really slow. Darren McCarthy had that chance out on the sideline from like inside the 14 straight away, just narrowly wide. And Kilkenny really dominated. John Donnelly was getting on a lot of ball early on. Massey Keown got a few scores early doors. They were motoring really, really well. Kilkenny, TJ Reid knocked over a few frees. And yeah, it was kind of one-way traffic. And then, 1-2 short puck out, I think, to Reece Shelley, bombs it down the field, breaks off to Jake Morris. He takes it on, his shot is blocked. John McGrath is there, fires it into the top corner, and I was like, right, now we're back. And straight away after, was it Brian O'Mara, I think maybe, on the Hogan stand side, plays a lovely ball over the top, and Andrew Ormond kind of catches it in his stride. He's in behind, and in fairness to Mikey Carey, it was a sensational hook. John McGrath was roaring though, he was free at the far side of the post. It would have been a tough pass for Andrew Ormond in terms of being able to get the strike away without being hooked or blocked and without the goalkeeper intercepting because it was a tight angle. But that was another goal chance for Tipperary. Then Kilkenny kind of made a bit of a mistake for the second goal. That was Darren McCarthy. Long ball in, two Kilkenny men go for it along with Jason Ford. Darren McCarthy waits in behind, breaks to him, still has a lot to do. He's got Hugh Lawler running down his back, and he bounces it off the ground. It wasn't bounced off the ground. It was Owen Murphy got a touch on it, and just not enough to keep it out. Brilliant to see Darren McCarthy, his first championship goal in senior championship for Tipperary, and a really important one. And we'll talk about him and his red card in a bit as well. Of course, one of the big talking points from the game as well. Third goal came then. That was another kind of similar situation where Jason Ford, Darren McCarthy, and their two markers running out to the ball, and it breaks in behind. Breaks to Darren McCarthy. He gets it, loses his footing, and plays a lovely hand pass over the top of the defender, right in between Jason Ford and the outrushing Owen Murphy, and just the one-handed flick from Jason Ford to flick it in just under the crossbar and into the back of the net. And that sent the Tip crowd really, really mad as well. So, but before the goals, I think some settling points were needed from Tipperary. Not before the goals. The goals was Tip's first score, but kind of before the second and third goal, when Tip were struggling and Kilkenny kind of pushed on after that first Tip goal, barring that Andrew Ormond chance. Owen Connolly got a brilliant long-range score, but Connor Stakelum, everything good from Tip in those first 15-20 minutes were coming through Connor Stakelum. Such an honest player in terms of his work rate, throws himself into everything, and he's not kind of one of those just lads that are running around in the middle of the field and just kind of disrupting things. He's able to do that, but he's able to win the ball, and he can score as well. Reece Shelley nailed him a puck out halfway between the 265s. If you're watching it on TV, you wouldn't have seen it because by the time they cut from the replay to the score, the ball was going over the bar. But Connor Stakelum was right between the 265s in the middle of the field, and Reece Shelley just, you couldn't walk up to Connor Stakelum and hand him the ball nicer. It was right there, perfect pass, and Connor Stakelum didn't even look at the post and over the bar. he got another score where Owen Connolly came out to take a free in the halfway line, and Connor Stakem was just there short for it. And it was kind of one of those ones where if you miss that, you're kind of thinking, was Connor Stakem taking that shot maybe 15 yards closer to the goals off his left hand side under pressure on the run? Was that a better shot than Owen Connolly just having a goal from a free from a few yards further back? Maybe not, but Tip were thinking and they were trying to make things happen, and it flew over the bar from Connor Stakem, and he got in another point just inside the 45 as well in that first half. So Connor Stakem, really, really impressive from him. I think I mentioned in previous podcasts that sometimes he gives away kind of frees by being too kind of armsy in the tackle. But I thought he was really, really good the other day. Work rate, as I said, ability to score, but he was so involved, and brilliant performance from him. So that kind of got Tipperary into the game. I mentioned Owen Connolly points as well. He got one from a short puck out to Owen Connolly, played it in field, maybe to Robert Doyle, and they exchanged a pass back to Owen Connolly. Over the bar it went. He got that one where Connor Stakem won it in the middle of the field and hand passed it back to him, and on his own 65 just catch, shoot, drilled it over the bar from Owen Connolly. So 3 points from him. He's in serious form, and like the man is a monster, isn't he? Like, he's tugged out. He is just huge, strong, fit, fast, loads of hurling, and kind of coming of age this year, as are a number of Tipperary players that we'll mention as well. So yeah, the teams went in at half time 3-11 to 16 points. It was really good for Tipperary because Kilkenny were on top for the first 15 odd minutes. But the goals, it's just goals, isn't it? The goals win games kind of adage, it's so true. It just gave Tipperary a huge lift, and there were 60,000 people there, and there was definitely more Tip than Kilkenny, and you could feel that when the teams ran out of the tunnel at the start. There was great support. So in at half time then, and yeah, second half starts and it's slow from Tipperary. It's Kilkenny again. It's TJ knocking over frees. It's Mossy Keown getting onto loose ball. Adrian Mullen finally kind of got into the game, got a couple of scores. Jordan Malloy was hitting him from long distance. I think he got 4 points. Keane Kenny as well. And they'd got it back level. Then the 59th, 68th minute, the Darren McCarthy second yellow happens. Tipper down to 14. And it's kind of looking a bit ominous. Then you're thinking, oh geez, where is this going to go? Let's talk about. So the first yellow card for Darren McCarthy was a silly one on Paddy Deegan. He kind of made the motion. I'll go full screen for this. He kind of made the motion of he's going to swing, and he kind of did a big backswing, and he didn't really follow through. Really, it was silly from him because he made it look like he was going to leather him, but didn't actually leather him. But like, it's a yellow card. And it was only the 3rd minute. Maybe it was a bit soft. Maybe it could have been not played on, but just a free or whatever. So that was his first one. His second one was ball back to the goalkeeper, Owen Murphy. Darren McCarthy is there trying to close the angle, and Owen Murphy does a nice little sidestep, and Darren McCarthy's hurley is there, and he doesn't like swing and leather him. It's just a little love tap, just a little tap on the hand of Owen Murphy. He drops the hurley in a reaction to it. And James Owens comes in and gives him the second yellow and red card, and it's kind of like, it's overall it's harsh, isn't it? You've seen people get away with an awful lot worse, and Paddy Deegan probably got away with a little bit worse on the day. You just would have liked to seen maybe one of those offences just to be like, hey now, none of that. You're on a warning. Next one you're gone. There was kind of his only 2 offences, and I'd like to know what you think in the comments. On one hand, it is naive. It is naive for sure, especially when you're already booked. But on this, it is harsh too. I think is fair enough to say. I don't think that's been overly biased. The Paddy Deegan incident though, and Paddy Deegan had lots of words for Darren McCarthy when he got sent off. It looked like on the footage, he didn't seem to be happy with Darren McCarthy for going down holding his head earlier in the half. Now, in fairness to Darren McCarthy, that was out on the sideline, and he kind of turned and put his head down, and it was kind of into the chest or stomach of Paddy Deegan. I don't know how sore it was. They can be very sore. That was a yellow card for Paddy Deegan, which could have been harsh as well. He didn't kind of lower his body or come in. He could just come in hard, and the way Darren McCarthy turned just kind of made that collision happen the way it did. So Paddy Deegan probably a little bit unfortunate possibly for that yellow card. You can disagree with that, but Paddy Deegan was very fortunate that Mikey Carey took the brunt for the yellow card on Andrew Ormond over on the sideline on the Cusack stand side of the field. Um, yeah, like he's trying to hook Andrew Ormond, and Paddy Deegan knows how to hook better than I do, but I still know how you hook someone, and you just need to kind of leave the hurley there or flick it up, and he kind of swung that thing from the ground up to the back of Andrew Ormond's head, and you could hear the kind of slap on the back of Andrew Ormond's head, and um, I saw a comment somewhere, someone like, oh, Andy Ormond was down there as if there was something really wrong with him. Like, he got smacked on the back of the head, and those old school helmets. I have an SH100 myself. There's not much in them. There's not much in them in terms of protection. Like, you would have felt that, especially on the back of the head. Kind of possibly wouldn't have seen it coming. Well, he wouldn't have seen it coming. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, not that I'm aware of anyway. And that would have been a sore one. Paddy Deegan, I'd say, was a little bit worried when James Owens was talking to the linesman, but they deemed Mikey Carey's swipe down to be the foul offence. So, that was a stroke of fortune for Paddy Deegan. But I mentioned he'd lots of words for Darren McCarthy when he was getting sent off. But well, that's what it looked like, from the camera. I wasn't down there. I didn't hear what he was saying, but that's just what it appeared like. But Paddy Deegan was the man then that got caught in the possession by Alan Tynan that led to Oisin O'Donoghue's goal. But after the red card, I thought Tipperary reacted really well, literally straight away from that free out. Kilkenny went long, it broke. I think Brian O'Mara or Craig Morgan knocked it to the ground. Noel McGrath was there, plays it short to Andrew Ormond. He plays a lovely ball then to Jake Morris. And Jake Morris kind of shimmies to take on his man on the edge of the 21, but decides that a point is the right thing to do here, and he gives a big G up to the crowd, and straight away he's organising that we're going 2 up, and that sort of thing, and that was really impressive. But after Darren McCarthy's red card, I thought Andrew Ormond, for that like 3 or 4 minutes after he was taken off for Shawnee Keneally late on, but Andrew Ormond got that ball to Jake Morris for that score. Then he won the free that he got hit in the back of the head that Jason Ford put over. Then he was involved with, remember, Richie Reid cut out a ball, then tried to loop a hand pass, and Oisin O'Donoghue intercepted it, played it to Andrew Ormond. He plays it back to Jason Ford, and Jason hits just a crazy score out on the Hogan stand side, right in the sideline, catch, shoot off his left over the bar. I don't think Jason Ford had an easy score all day. Like, what did he score? 1-5. The goal was a moment of magic with the flick of the wrist. He got frees from way out on the sideline when he hadn't taken a free all day, like the one that Andrew Ormond got fouled. The first one he had where Darren McCarthy got that collision with Paddy Deegan, that free was right in the sideline over the bar. The free there off the left over the bar, like, wow. That one was just scandalous though, wasn't it? Out on the sideline off his left. What a score. I was kind of right behind it looking down, and the place just went mad. That was huge from Jason Ford. So Andy Ormond was involved in those scores, and he kind of ran himself into the ground. Like, Andy Ormond didn't score, but he was involved in an awful lot. And any ball that came his way in the first half, he dealt with some really difficult passes where there was under pressure, a pass wasn't really on, and the ball would be played to him, and he dealt with it, and he was able to set up Conor Stakelum for one, and he was really sharp is the word I'd probably use to describe Andrew Ormond. So sharp, and just what an addition he has been. And it's going to be interesting to see him now. He came on against Cork and done quite well in a kind of a more corner forward role, I think, reflecting back in the Munster Championship late on in that game. It's going to be interesting to see him now floating around that middle third in the All-Ireland final. But Andy Ormond really just sharp is what he was, and his work rate is never in doubt, and he just flies around. But he was so important in those closing stages, I think. Noel McGrath got on that ball. If he put that over the bar, it would have been scenes altogether. But Noel McGrath had a part to play in that goal. As we said, Paddy Deegan working the ball out. Richie Reid played it short to him, and he just threw it up to try and do a dummy. And Alan Tynan was there, as he was when he was on the field, full of energy, real hunger about Alan Tynan, and gets that flick away, plays it infield. Mikey Carey knocks it to the ground. Noel McGrath's rooting for the ball. They're all trying to get it up. Hugh Lawler comes sliding in, swinging as Andy Ormond's trying to rise it. But it's just all play on, that's fair enough. It breaks out. Noel McGrath gets a just kind of desperation flick on it as he's falling to the ground. Jake Morris is there to flick it up, and then Oisín O'Donoghue comes in and steps inside David Blanchfield. The ref is playing an advantage at this stage. He wouldn't have known that though. 4 or 5 lads on. Like from my vantage point, I'm up in the height looking down across the field, and I can barely see Oisín O'Donoghue because there's like 4 or 5 Kilkenny jerseys on him, and you're trying to see like, is he gonna be able to do anything here, or is he just bottled up? And next thing you just see the ball flying, Owen Murphy flying through the air, the ball hitting the back of the net, the Hill 16 erupting, Cusack stand on the far side erupting, myself erupting. It was just incredible. Joe, if you haven't heard the commentary, I think I might have it here. Let me see. Where are we? So yeah, I have it up here. Joe, this is, if you haven't heard it already, this is myself and Ken Hogan on Tip FM.
Alan Tynan now flicks it in field. Oh, it's just not going to make it towards Noel McGrath. He's trying to get onto the breaking ball. It's still there on the edge of the D. It's a real battle for possession. Andrew Ormond trying to get onto it. Here comes Oisín O'Donoghue. He's outside the 21. He's won a free shoot for goal. Goal! 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 Oisín O'Donoghue has done it again with the best goal he's probably ever scored into the top corner. Incredible! 420 to 29 points. The kid from Cashel has done it again. He has done it again. And now Tipperary lead. He'd won a free. He didn't settle for a point.
It's just, I've watched that back so many times, and I will continue to watch it back for a long, long time. What a goal! What a moment! Like, imagine being 19. Sorry, now that sneeze at the start has really thrown me off. Like, imagine being 19. What is that? Okay on my screen? It's a bit messed up looking there, but anyway. Like, imagine being 19, scoring a goal like that, Hill 16, Owen Murphy in goals, and like going like that to Hill 16. Like, I really need a tissue. I apologise. This sneeze is really thrown off my my nose here, and I don't know why the screen is a bit messed up here. So we might just go back to this. But yeah, 19 years of age doing that, incredible from Oisín O'Donoghue. So. That was it then. Then the game played out how it did. Noel McGrath won a huge free. Tip were defending with all their best ability. Owen Cody had a shot that was saved. You know, that was one that he could have popped over in hindsight if they'd known the proper score. But I'm a little bit surprised that none of the Kilkenny management team, backroom team, none of them were there to notice maybe the scoreboard issue. And now it's very hard in the heat of battle. I wouldn't be criticising them overly, but just that none of them were kind of saying to the fourth official, hold on, is that scoreboard right? So that was a little bit surprising, but it all came down then, ball down on top of TJ Reid. Of course he's able to win it, the great TJ Reid, and bounce it off the ground, holds it up, finds the perfect pass to John Donnelly, and then you're kind of thinking head and hands, like, where is this going? And he sends it high past Rhys Shelley, and Robert Doyle is there to block it out. Brian O'Mara was there, as he was all day, to win the ball, clear it down the line, and you know, it goes out for the sideline, and it's played in field by Richie Reid to Paddy Deegan. He's held up in the tackle by Jake Morris, and Shinné, referee, blows it up. Just wow, wasn't it? Just it's one of those things where, one of those games where you're watching it, you're watching every bit of media you can, you're watching the highlights when you go home, you're watching the brilliant still shots that the GA have of, or the slow shots and the pitch side views of Noel McGrath dropping to his knees, and the view of Oisín O'Donoghue's goal from behind. You're consuming every bit of media you can around the game. It's just really proud, I suppose you'd be, as a Tipperary person, wouldn't you? Just looking at the performance. So yeah, incredible stuff. So let's go down through player by player as we do on this podcast. And a reminder, if you're 34 minutes in and you haven't liked, then come on, you must be half enjoying it anyway. So let's keep that going. So Rhys Shelley in goals, we mentioned his puck outs, just pinpoint as always from Rhys, really. He was enjoying the 1-2 short puck outs. They were kind of letting him do that a lot, and he can absolutely launch it. Like, he's so his striking is very versatile in that he can hit the low stingers or the kind of shoulder high ones out to anywhere in the field pretty much. but he can just launch one long as well. I thought he was really composed late on. He made that save from Owen Cody. He cleared a couple of balls as well late on, just very composed. And yeah, Reece Shelley, brilliant performance. I suppose some people credit him with that block at the end, but it was Robert Doyle. Robert Doyle just came up trumps really in the game. Now Mossy Keown scored 5 or 6 points in the game, but looking back on them, 2 or 3 of them or 4 of them maybe were like rucks in around the edge of the D, and it just broke out and hand past the Mossy Keown, and he's quickest to it and over the bar. There was a few early on maybe that it was kind of one-on-one in between him and Robert Doyle, and he got out in front and put it over the bar. But for the most part, Robert Doyle was very good, and that block he had at the end just sums it up really. I'm wondering, should I go blow my nose here? This is kind of frustrating me, so it might frustrate you listening in. But okay, let me go one last. Now, apologies, listeners. This is it's not live, but if I had to stop this, and there's so much editing, I just don't have the time, so you have to bear with me. Owen Connolly, as we mentioned, 3 points from him. Just a colossus, really. He scored 14 points in the championship. He set up a couple as well, the one for Conor Stakelum. He got a yellow card for some old school pushing and shoving with, who was it, Adrian Mullen and him. So just Owen Connolly. So it's a feature of this Tipperary defence. They're all versatile. Like if you're a cornerback, you can play a wing back, and Ronan Maher and Owen Connolly can switch out. So that comes in handy. Michael Breen, he gave away a couple of loose ones. Wasn't maybe as good as he has been, but there was a ball near the end where Michael Breen won it and came out with it. And when you kind of needed it, he was there. But definitely had a looser game than what we've seen from Michael Breen. Like, he's all action. He's 100% into every tackle and every ruck and every 50-50 ball. Just once or twice he was coming out with a ball, a loose hand pass, and it got intercepted, and a misplaced pass and things like that. But you can afford Michael Breen a slight down performance compared to his other games. You can afford him that with how good he's been this year. So he still did an awful lot right. Craig Morgan, I thought, was just he's like a fireman nearly. At the start of the game there was a fire there. John Donnelly was getting on an awful lot of ball, and I think it was Craig Morgan they kind of put on him. We weren't saying John Donnelly's name anymore. He wasn't on an awful lot of ball, Craig, but he was there flicking ball away. His positioning is really, really good. His defensive kind of instinct is very good too. So while he wasn't on as much ball as maybe his opposite wing back and Brian O'Mara was, it was still very good from Craig Morgan, as it was with Ronan. Ronan was probably unlucky to get caught for a free on TJ Reid. He kind of got turned around and lost the ball in the sky and ended up catching it, but had given away the free. But he did pretty well on TJ. Like, TJ got 11 points. I'd say he got maybe 8 or 9 frees. So Ronan Maher, just captain's performance, led the team out in the parade and things like that. And we'll talk about that as well. So do you know what? Before we talk about Brian O'Mara, because there's a lot I want to say about Brian O'Mara, we're going to do an unprecedented thing on the P. Carroll Sport podcast. I'm going to take off my mic, run out and blow my nose, and I'll be back in a second. So this is not the best podcasting, but I think this kind of has to be done. So give me a second. That just had to be done. I'm so sorry, but let me put my mic back on. Right, we're back. Brian O'Mara, clear nose. Oh, I can breathe again. Right, that sneeze really threw me off all of 39 minutes ago. So, right, Brian O'Mara. Like, I feel like we've said this on so many podcasts this year. Probably his best performance in a blue and gold jersey. Like, he's been improving every game, and he was so good. He was on so much. He must have been the leader in possessions by far. Maybe Richie Reid, because he got in a lot of possessions when Tipper down to 14. But Brian O'Mara, flicks, blocks, the usual crack with Brian O'Mara, his delivery, his bravery in taking puck outs and taking on his man and drilling ball in field. Really impressive from Brian O'Mara. And I'm really happy to see it, because I've been like a big fan of him, and you can listen back to podcasts down through the 2 years or that we've been doing this. I've always been such a fan of his style of play and his ball striking, and it's so nice to see these class performances from him. So long may that continue. And he's a man I interviewed today at the press event. Seems a real sound, dead on fella. But what a player and what a performance he had. Midfield, Willie Connors. I thought Willie was, as always, busy, brave, throwing himself into everything. He set up that goal where he gets the ball on the 45 and it's kind of surveying his options, bounce it off the ground, back into his hand, and wasn't wasteful, put that diagonal ball in. I think that might have been for Darren McCarthy's goal, and John had a role to play there. Was replaced by Dara Stakelum later on. We'll go through the subs in a bit. Midfield, Connor Stakelum, and must be said for Willie Connors as well. Difficult week for him with the passing of his uncle, Willie Connors, last week. So he was really busy, particularly in that first half. Gave away one or two just loose balls in that middle third, but it's so easy, I think, for us up in the stand to see when a pass isn't on in that middle third, but it's so congested down at pitch level. It's all instinctual and it's all happening so quick. So you can kind of you nearly have to allow for one or two of them by the players in that middle third. Connor Stakelum, as I've mentioned, I've nearly already done his review. 3 points, really solid. And he was thrown in there to start. We haven't seen an awful lot of him on a consistent basis this year. He's been kind of in and out with knocks, and but there he was on Sunday. 3 points all over the field, flicks, blocks, turnovers, all action. Connor Stakelum. Jake Morris, 4 points for him. Could have had a goal. Owen Murphy pulled off a brilliant save. Always looking to take on his man, his leadership. I think he was 19-1 to be hurler of the year before the game. I wonder what that is now. I think Jake has been really good all year. Another man I was talking to today, as was Ronan. Ronan was there as well. So you'll hear all those interviews in the coming week. But Jake, 4 points, just leadership, and really exciting to see. Andrew Ormond, as I mentioned, that every ball that came to him, he made it stick. They were all difficult balls. Wasn't on as many scoring opportunities. Maybe he had that kind of hook chance where he got hooked by Mikey Carey, but he won some key frees near the end, set up some scores. Sam O'Farrell was busy, as he has been all year. He got himself a clever point where Darren McCarthy was kind of been held up and he came on the loop behind him, got it over the bar. Darren McCarthy, 1-2 for him. You hear people say, Darren McCarthy, they could have taken him off before. But he got a goal, set up a couple of other scores. His free taken, he took 4, he missed 2. It's his first time ever hitting frees in Croke Park. That swirling breeze, it was misty, it was wet. You could run down through these kind of reasons, but what I really liked about Darren McCarthy was he'd missed a kind of a free on the 45, and the next ball that was a free was further out on the halfway line, and he stepped up and nailed it over the bar. A lesser fella could have said, "Oh God, I've missed one now. Give that to Jason Ford." But he stepped up and put it over the bar. He did hit a poor free underneath the Hogan stand where it just radar off, and it never really had a chance. It started right, it stayed right, and went wide. But Darren McCarthy, he's 19. I think he turns 20. I must look up his date of birth before the final, but I think he turns 20 in the month of July or possibly August. Still so young. He scored, 133 odd in the championship. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. You can see how emotional he was at the end of the game, because he's one of these lads who just loves hurling and it means so much to him. And getting a red card and feeling like you've let the team down. I'm sure it was a real long 15 minutes for Darren McCarthy watching on, but you could see him holding Oisin O'Donoghue's head, I'd say, just so thankful that Oisin O'Donoghue got that goal and Tip had won the game, because it would have been a difficult time for Darren McCarthy if Tip had lost, because whether you like it or not, people would be saying, "Oh Jesus, Darren McCarthy got the red card and we lost the game," and you'd be hearing that for the winter, and it would have been really annoying. But no, he fired it into the back, Oisin O'Donoghue fired it into the back of the net, and Darren McCarthy was saved in that manner. But all in all, I thought he did a pretty good performance. He scored a goal, he set a goal up, he set up a couple of other points. It's your first time in Croke Park, you're 19 years of age. If people are saying that's a bad performance, then I think we need to be a bit fair on young Darren McCarthy. John McGrath, 1-2 for him. A real good point off a short hand pass from Sam O'Farrell. The goal was just a brilliant finish, and you could say he got lucky that the ball broke to him, but it tends to be the real clever players that seem to get very lucky. He was there for the ball to come to him, and it's all well and good a ball breaking to you, but to have the composure to get it and drive it into the top corner is what we've come to expect from John McGrath. A little bit disappointed that when he scored the goal, he didn't do his trademark. Me and one of the lads have been talking about John McGrath's trademark celebration. If you look at it, anytime now he did do it for Jason Ford's goal. If you look at the replay, it's the two hands up, like pure joy, jubilation. I've spoke about it on the podcast before. So he did do it when Jason Ford got the goal, but for his own goal, he just gave it the one fist bump. I suppose because Tip were kind of down a bit at the time, but his point before half time as well, long ball down on top of him and Hugh Lawler, and he used his body really well, as he always does, instead of trying to kind of field it up here where this is Hugh Lawler territory above the shoulders. He kind of backed up into Hugh Lawler and kind of caught it at kind of belly button level, hip level, and Hugh Lawler was kind of handsy. Was it a free? I think it probably would have been harsh if it was a free. It would have been a penalty because it was inside the 14, but I think it was just the way their bodies were. They kind of got caught up in each other, and John McGrath wriggled his way, got free, and drove it over the bar. Kind of shooting for goal, but just went over the crossbar, and he was really good. He was probably disappointed to be taken off. But what kind of quenches a bit of that disappointment is Noel McGrath coming on, his older brother. But worth mentioning, that was John McGrath's 20th goal in Championship hurling. He scored 514 this year in the Championship for Tipperary. It's so good to see, isn't it? Because John had that Achilles injury. It's a real kind of devastating injury. It's a long one to come back from. We've seen it in different sports. And it probably did take him a year or 2 years to get back to the form, but once he was back and probably confident in running around, the McGraths, they just have it in the head, don't they? They know what to do. They're so clever, and we're just so lucky to have him. Jason Ford, like, man of the match performance, 1-5 from him, took over the frees. As I said, not an easy one. Free he was given, knocked them all over, got the goal. Just what can you say? Like, it's so I'm actually delighted for him, because I don't know, Jason has maybe got so much kind of hype with him coming through in Nina CBS and winning the Crow Cup and his successful colleges years, and he was really good with Tip for the last 10 years, but you always kind of felt like, there was Bubbles, there was Shamie Callanan, there was these other forwards getting all these scores, but that was kind of maybe Jason Ford's best performance in terms of him kind of winning the game for Tipperary, because now I know I shouldn't have done who got that goal, but when that game was in the melting pot, there was really difficult frees, and Jason Ford put him over. He got that score to go into the lead off his left, and it was a real kind of, I'm standing up now, I have to go out and do this for Tipperary, and he done it, and absolutely delighted for Jason. Over the road in the Silvermines, Burgess being my parish, just delighted for Jason now, and to see that performance from him. And he comes across really well, doesn't he, on the post-match interviews. He was on Sunday game after the Galway game and came across really well, and he was doing the post-match there when he was receiving the Man of the Match award. So brilliant from him. Let's go down through the substitutions now. We'll start with Dara Stakelum. He came on. I think he came on kind of late, did he? I don't remember getting him on too many ball, but just Dara Stakelum, how good was it for him and his brother Connor to be on the field? Well, Connor probably got replaced at the very end, did he? Yeah, by some guy called Ushin O'Donoghue. Don't know if he did much when he came on. No, but Connor, there was a brilliant video, one of those sideline videos of Connor Stakelum and Dara Stakelum just hugging each other on full time. Like, imagine playing with your brother in Crow Park, winning a match like that. Like, these lads are living it. It's class, and the picture of the three McGraths, just wow. Like, frame that, put it in your mantelpiece at home. McGrath family and Stakelum family. Just class moments for them. Shawnee Kennelly came on really late on. He got that ball out on the sideline, and for a second I was thinking, are we getting, showtime Shawnee Kennelly out on the sideline, over the shoulder, over the bar? But he probably had it in his head that I might try and hold this ball up a bit and wait for support. He ended up getting overturned. Alan Tynan come on for Sam O'Farrell. Alan Tynan come on for Andrew Ormond as a blood sub in the first half, and got like a heroic block out on the sideline over in the Cusack stand, and he's all action. And I love Alan Tynan's kind of There's a bit in Willie Connors as well. There's that bit of, I think Bubbles referred to Darren McCarthy on was it the smaller fish. I saw a clip on Twitter as having a bit of divilment. Like there was a bit of divilment in Alan Tynan for sure, and you could see him pushing and shoving. I think he was having a word with Keane Kenny, because remember when Alan Tynan got sent off in the league, it was Keane Kenny who kind of feigned the head injury, for want of a better phrase, and it was Alan Tynan who got sent off. So he was kind of jawing at him a little bit. I think I could be wrong, but the turnovers, the work rate. He got that all important turnover on Paddy Deegan that ended up with Oisin O'Donoghue sending it into the back of the net. Noel McGrath was the other substitute. I mentioned straight away after the red card, him getting on that breaking ball, playing it to Andrew Ormond into Jake over the bar, winning that big free at the end, getting that little flick to for the Oisin O'Donoghue goal. Like Noel McGrath, what a man. You could spend a podcast talking about Noel McGrath. How much better has this audio been as well since I've blown my nose? I've just realised that as well. Should have done it way earlier. Apologies for if you're listening in the early stages of this podcast. But the other substitution then was Oisin O'Donoghue. The goal he got, the ball he cut out from Richie Reid's kind of looped hand pass that ended up in that Jason Ford wonder score. But the goal he got, I was talking to his father, Sean O'Donoghue, has done co-commentaries with myself for some of the games with Cashel last year in the county championship, and I was just saying, you have to frame that picture of Oisin looking into Hill 16 like, are you not entertained? It's just class. Like, imagine being 19 doing that. So just brilliant. He's super sub. He's Ollie Gunner O'Donoghue. He's Ollie Gunner Solskjaer of this team. He's coming on and he's doing it off the bench, and long may it continue. So that's pretty much it for running down through the match. Let me know your thoughts on the performances. Who do you think played really well for Tip? For the final, would you be looking at making any changes? I think probably a same team for the final. I think will start. I would imagine Alan Tynan probably has a good shout. Like Oisin O'Donoghue, of course, has a good shout to say start me, but I think he's going so well off the bench. You just keep it at that at the minute, because to have that kind of what would you call it, ace up your sleeve is really, really handy for Tip. More than handy, I suppose. But for Kilkenny, some of their performers, Jordan Malloy had a really good game. I think he get 4 or 5 points from play. Mossy Keown got 5, possibly 6. TJ like, I hope TJ Reid doesn't retire. TJ Reid is one of my favourite hurlers ever. TJ made his debut in 2008 when I was 11. I'm 28 now, and I've loved watching every bit of his career, really. One of my favourite goals is the 21-yard free he got for Ballyhale Shamrocks against, was it St. Thomas's in the club championship a few years ago. Just love his play style. I saw him live loads of times. His aerial ability, I love a player with good aerial ability, and that's TJ Reid. And I hope he stays going. I was kind of annoyed on commentary that I never mentioned it. I was like, this better not be TJ Reid's last ever game, and I commentated on it and I never mentioned him. I never mentioned it being his kind of last game or give him a proper mention, but I've loved watching TJ Reid, and I hope he continues playing for this Kilkenny team. Owen Cody got 2 or 3 points. Probably wasn't 100% fit, I think you could say. Now that could be a convenient excuse, but I just don't think we saw that kind of explosiveness from Owen Cody the other day. But like, that full forward line is so impressive. Like, coming into that game, that full forward line had scored 13 goals. Owen Cody had only played 2 games. TJ Reid had played 5, and Mossy Keown had played 5 as well. I think TJ Reid might have only played 4 actually. So they had scored a goal a game, each of them at least. Mossy Keown and TJ Reid had scored more than a goal a game, and Tip managed to hold that full forward line scoreless. Now, if Tip could somehow, not scoreless, goalless, if Tip could somehow hold the Cork full forward line on July the 20th goalless, you'd have to think we'd have a great chance, but that's certainly easier said than done. They scored 7 against Dublin on Saturday, so that's pretty much it. I think that I have some notes there about some things I wanted to mention in case I forgot, because my head has been absolutely fried. So I think that's pretty much it. I'll run you down through kind of what's happening in terms of Tip FM for the next week. We're going to have a preview night happening on the Wednesday before the match. Excuse me, my voice is really on the ropes here, but we're going to have a preview night, so my job over the next week is kind of preparing for that. I've the show on the Friday night in Tip FM. I've loads of audio to cut and edit from today's press event, but you really wouldn't want it any other way. So I've a busy few days. Going to have to try and squeeze in a bit of golf as well, just to to try and get the mind away from everything and just get a bit of a break. But it's just so good to have something like this to look forward to. Scramble for tickets, all that. I don't have any tickets. I'm trying to see, can I get um, the media passes that we need for Tip FM. We don't get an allocation of tickets. We just get the press passes for the press box, and they're going to be limited, I'd imagine, for an All Ireland final. So it's just really looking forward to Sunday week. It's an All Ireland final. We're going to be rank underdogs. This Cork team are scoring goals for fun. They're absolutely hopping off the side. But it's an All Ireland final. Tipperary are there, and Tip have won 5 games in a row. There's going to be huge belief in that squad, and there's going to be loads of time to preview the game. So I've gone on a long time there. We're 56 and a half minutes into this. I'm due a good nap now, I must say, but just what a game. Like, I've watched back the game, I've watched back the highlights, and I'll nearly do it again before I go to bed. It's that kind of thing. It's been class. But if you want to follow me anywhere, it's at P Carroll Sport on Twitter, same on Instagram, and the same on TikTok as well, where we post over there as well. So one final reminder, what do we get? 164 likes in the last video. Can we push that up? 200 is a lot to ask for, and this podcast is going up late as well, so I'll be interested to see how it does, kind of views wise and things like that. But as I said, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be some really good content coming. First on the Tip FM platforms, but I'll upload the videos on this channel too. So Tipper into an All Ireland final, absolute buzz. Can't wait for it. But for this podcast, it's bye. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, we will talk to you on the next one. Good luck.